the church I grew up in, it had some issues, like many churches, because it's filled, just like Jesus said, the church is a hospital for the sick. And so when you're dealing with a church, you're going to encounter some issues.
And rather than just take a hiatus and all of a sudden be like, Dakota's gone.
Yeah, what happened to that guy?
We wanted to take some time today and look at what you're doing, what I'm doing. There's some just transitions in both of our lives coming up very, very quickly. By the time you hear this, I may already have a child. Dakota might already have it. No, just kidding.
Might already have another child.
No, you'll be kind of moving and making some big choices. And so you could kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
You'll be stepping away from TFL in a very involved basis that you are. And so, of course, you'll always have some TFL blood in you, and kind of our friendship will continue, of course.
Yeah.
But your official roles within TFL will look a little bit different as you really kind of dive headfirst into your new adventure. So tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Well, I took a blood oath with TFL when I joined, so
You weren't that was under an NDA.
Oh, sorry. Scratch that. Edit that out of the podcast. So yeah, my family, my wife and I, we have felt over the past couple of years that our time in Butte was coming to an end. And so we've just been processing that over, like, really heavy over the past few months. And thank you. And so the thing is, we're moving to Billings, not because of a job, not because of people, not because of a church, but we just felt like that's where God is leading us into this next season of life. And so because we felt that leading through the Holy Spirit, we decided to go forward with it. And our thought process was, in the natural, was if anything prohibits us from moving there, we'll stop. But as long as the light was green, per se, we'll just keep going. And so I started applying for jobs, and it took a while, but I did find a job in Billings, and we listed our house. Things have been going smooth there. Just all of these transitional pieces that you need to move really are falling into place. So I am making that transition to move to Billings, and I'll tell you a little bit about my job. It's kind of the perfect job for me, which is really cool. Because like I said, we're not moving to Billings for a job, but the way God lined this up was really awesome. So I have a background in pastoring. I have a background in property management. I have a background in being a baker. I've worked way too many jobs for a person my age, but two of my passions have been the property management and pastoring, just helping people in a physical way and a spiritual way is just it's really rewarding, and it's something I'm really passionate about. And so this job, I'm going to be directing this community for seniors that are independent, and I'll be overseeing these rental properties for them through a faith-based organization. So it's really exciting because it's kind of like the best of both worlds. I'll not only be like a property manager, but it's also through a faith-based organization. So it's these two worlds that are kind of coming together, that I have a background in both. So it's really exciting.
How is a property management company able to be nonprofit as well as faith-based? What does that mean?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because you'd think, like, aren't they trying to make money?
Sure.
But this company isn't. It's I'll just name drop them. It's called Volunteers of America, and they're the parent company that owns rentals across the whole United States. And their idea is to make low-income housing affordable for people that can't afford it.
Okay.
And so they have rentals available for those that have mental disabilities, They have facilities for those transitioning out of prison. They have places like I'll be managing for seniors and a whole bunch of other like Section 8 housing
Okay.
and things like that, where they're not trying to make a profit. They're just trying to provide housing. And so at the root of it, it's all faith-based and has a background in Christianity.
Okay. Right on. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. It's a different world for sure.
Yes.
And one that you've been, my word today is dabbled.
Yeah.
Dabble in that world a little bit.
Dabble a little.
Now, you said that like you and your wife both were in agreement that you felt like there was a leading of the Holy Spirit to kind of, was it more so leave Butte or was it more so move to Billings?
Well, 2 years ago, we were looking for a change. And looking back, it's really funny because when we moved to Butte in the first place in 2017, we had told a bunch of people, especially me, I was pretty much bragging about this, that I do not want to live in Butte more than 5 years. But after living in Butte
For 20 years,
after 30 years, Butte has grown on me. I love this community. I love the people. I love the activities. I think it's a hub for a lot of fun. I think there are some great schools here, great community, churches, and all around it's just really grown on me. So looking back as an immature 19-year-old, and
was that when you moved here?
yeah, and just bragging about that is silly to me. But
You're like a man now.
I'm like a man. Yeah. It's funny just looking back on that season, and just understanding the promise of God, though, because we moved to Butte with a vision, even though it sounds silly, of we'll be there no more than 5 years. I mean, now it's 7 years later. Oh, but all of that to answer your question, 2 years ago, my wife and I were looking at moving to a new place. And I said, well, let's pray about it. Let's think about where we want to move. And then if kind of the places line up and match, we'll jump on it. And so I just kind of kept the door open to any possibility, moving across the country, moving to another country, whatever.
Right.
And what it came down to is I came to my wife and said, hey, if you want to move to Helena, I'll move to Helena with you. And we'll go start a family up there. I mean, not start a family, but we'll start a new family up there. No,
If you want to go to Helena, go ahead.
Yeah. But like we'll start our life up there.
Okay, yeah.
And then, but she said, well, I really feel like if you want to move to Billings, we can move to Billings. And I was like, I don't want to do that at the time. And she's like, well, I don't really want to move to Helena. So because we couldn't find something that lined up, we just said, well, let's just keep doing what God told, the last thing God told us, which I think is really good wisdom. Like if you don't know the next thing to do the last thing that God told you to do and just keep doing that well.
Yeah.
And so, that's where we were at 2 years ago. And, just in the last few months, just started praying about it a lot. And just seeking out what it would look like to move to Billings, and things are just kind of lining up and coming to fruition.
And you live there. You're not born there.
I was born there.
Were you born in Billings? Okay.
So I was born in Billings, but I'm actually a farm boy. So my family is from Saco, Montana, which has a population of 202 people. And we had a farm up there that I lived on until I was about 3. Then like it's kind of muddy, but like we lived in Billings, we lived in Saco, but then my mom got married and we moved to Detroit, go Lions, and I lived there for 7 years and then moved back to Billings and pretty much grew up there.
Okay.
So Billings is home to me.
Right.
I consider it home. So it'll be cool going back. There's a lot of like high school friends that are excited to have me around. A lot of people like my mentor, that is really pumped for me to be back in Billings, and I'm excited too.
Yeah. And man, we stand with you. We're excited as much as it's tough to see you go. We are in agreement with what God has kind of prompted your heart to do. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's really, really exciting in that heart. And so, way to be obedient to that and kind of discerning what God, kind of puts on our hearts. And I like how you said, like, the light is green more than red.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to, like, there's a balance between reverence. Okay, there's always, we're supposed to be in deep reverence of God, meaning like almost a fearful respect.
Yeah.
Not in the sense of like my boss is going to be mad at me,
Yeah.
but like that can also be in a healthy way.
Sure.
But like I want to please my boss.
Yeah.
I want to do what's right. I want to respect the power my boss has above me. And God is our Father who loves us, but He's also our discipliner, and He's perfect and we're not. And so there's a big gap between us as little ants and Him as I was gonna say anteater, but Him as God, right? So there's always a level of reverence and respect for God.
Yeah.
But so often that will turn to a cowardice fear in the fact that we don't want to mess up doing something, you know? And like, so there's I think there's a relief when we act as if the light's green.
Right.
Now, that's not an excuse to be reckless, but it's a chance to be like, a ship that's moving is easier to adjust.
Oh, yeah.
Than a ship that's just sitting there. You can't, wiggle the ship around.
So last night we were playing Call of Duty and we landed on this ship and all of a sudden it stops.
Yes.
And we just got surrounded by enemies.
We did. It's
if
a horrible...
the ship was moving, it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, but we did end up winning that game.
Okay, that's a bad example. I wasn't going to mention that. We did end up winning. That's just because we're really good at Call of Duty.
We're so good. I
mean, my KD is like at least 0.4.
Yeah, man, it is. I think you're a little high. I think it's like 0.3. Yeah. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Sorry to call you out like that. I mean,
let's just open it up right now and just compare credit scores.
Yeah, which one directs your life more? Your credit score or your KD?
Yeah.
But yeah, brother. So all that to say, man, great job on just kind of, and then if it isn't the way God wants you to go, He'll let you know.
Yeah.
And so like that's a good thing, man. There's a lot of great statements there. So yeah, so very excited for you in this next step.
Yeah.
As far as your involvement in TFL goes, it'll look a little different as we move forward. Of course, we'll look forward to guest appearances on the podcast or catch up on your life. And so it's not like we're saying goodbye forever. For those that aren't familiar with Montana, Butte, we're in that bottom left-hand corner of the state. Billings is about 3 hours away east. If you're going to go towards like Detroit eventually.
Yeah.
If you're heading east. So he's about 3 hours closer to his Lions. They had a rough
That's right.
They had a rough opener there.
Hey, they won though.
I know. They pulled it off, but it was a good game.
That was a hard team.
Yeah, that was tough. It was Rams, right?
Yeah.
Rams.
Yeah. Hard team.
I always like the Rams. The more I watch football, the more I actually find myself liking teams more.
Oh, sure.
I
find myself disliking certain players.
Yeah.
And I'll call them out right now. There's two that I just really don't like right now.
Okay.
Kittle.
Okay.
I really don't like him. He's a party boy.
Yeah.
He has a chip on his shoulder that just makes me turn the other way.
Okay.
And then Tyreek Hill.
I knew you were going to say Tyreek Hill.
His recent debacle with the police.
Yeah.
I'm the first one to say I think there should be police reform, but I watched that video of Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
And he was completely out of line.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I only saw pictures.
I'm surprised they didn't detain him.
No way.
Yeah.
So did they just like catch and release kind of thing, or what? Did he spend time in jail or no?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
And what was the whole thing about?
I think he was reckless driving.
Okay.
So that part I don't know. The what I saw in the video was when the police it was their body
on
cam
him. Yeah.
coming up. He had his window up, super tinted. He wouldn't roll it down. So the police gently knock on his window. Hey, can you roll that down? He cracks his window and he yells, "Don't knock on my window like that." And the police are like, "Oh, I'm sorry, your window's up." And he just keeps interrupting them. "Don't knock on my window like that." He says it like 4 or 5 times. And so he keeps rolling his window back up too. And so they're like, "If you don't roll this window down, we're going to have to open the door. We don't know what you're doing behind the door." And they're like super gentle, super kind as much as they can be.
Sure.
And eventually they just have to put him on the ground, and he's on the phone crying to somebody, and he's like, they're trying to arrest me, bro. They're arresting me.
Oh,
it's like,
man.
I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah,
those two
that's
guys.
fair.
Yeah.
Were you a big Tom Brady guy or no? Or whatever?
He's always been the
He's
GOAT.
always controversial to people.
I started watching the roast,
Oh, yeah.
but it was really raunchy.
I caught
couldn't get
clips of
through
it.
it.
Yeah. I'm like,
But
raunchy, cringy, unnecessary.
yeah, Kevin Hart is one thing in a movie where there's a limited amount of curse words you can use on a live roast of somebody. He's another animal.
Yeah. Yeah. I was literally saying to my wife last night, because there's, he's in all these Capital One commercials.
Oh, yeah.
And whatever.
The funny ones with LeBron James.
Yeah. But like I told her, I go, the more I see of Kevin Hart, the less I like him.
I hear that.
So unlike my football teams that I'm growing to like, he's like, I'm like, I'm just kind of over Kevin Hart,
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, football season's here. Love football
Yeah.
season. So at least that's a constant in our life, and
Absolutely.
the ups and downs of politics, the ups and downs of transitions in life.
Yeah.
At
I
least-
can always trust on football to determine my mood for the next 7 days.
I was gonna say I could always count on the Steelers to let me down
That's right.
one more time. I hope they're at my
At your funeral.
Yeah, to let me down one more time.
Yeah. TJ Watt.
Oh man, okay.
With
Dude,
his arm around the casket.
I would. My last will and testament.
That's right.
Can TJ lower me into the grave?
Please.
Dude, TJ Watt,
By
huh?
himself.
What a man crush.
Deadlift.
Oh. To double check how I died. Get me out of there.
Can I share a redemptive story really quick?
I would love to
and
hear.
just be a little vulnerable.
Yeah.
I won't name drop.
You've been name dropping this whole time.
I will, so I won't now.
Okay.
But I'll be a little vulnerable. The church I grew up in Billings,
Right.
it had some issues, like many churches, because it's filled, just like Jesus said, the church is a hospital for the sick. And so when you're dealing with a church, you're gonna encounter some issues. But I had a lot of problems growing up in the church I did, and I didn't help it out at all. I had my issues too growing up, as we all do. But all that to say, this church that I left in 2017, 2018, whatever, those 2 years, it eventually transitioned to a place that it was no longer healthy, and they're no longer a thing anymore.
Okay.
But the beauty of death is that often life can be brought through it. So, we look at the redemptive story of Jesus dying on the cross, and 3 days later he rises. And we see that throughout the Bible. And I really feel like that same redemption we can see in Billings, because the church building, even though it's not the church, but the building itself is now being utilized by another church to bring life to a community that really needs it.
Wow.
And so for me to plug back into this new church that happens to be in the facility that I grew up in, that I literally went to as a baby, that my uncle pastored at when I was a kid, and that I interned at, and seeing it now is just really beautiful.
Wow, that full circle.
Full circle, yeah. It's really cool. And all of that, like, if I had known that, I would move to Billings in a heartbeat, because I'm like, I want to be a part of that.
Right.
And what's funny is all of that happened after we had decided to make this transition.
Like the new church taking over, all those things that all unfolded after you already like pulled the trigger on like
Yeah.
we're going.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's even more so like gets you a little excited, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. And I got to be a part of their kickoff service in their new building. I got to be there with one of my best friends and his wife. A friend of mine that has not been in the church world since leaving that other church body because he had a lot of hurt. So my two friends, and then my mom.
Wow.
And being there with my family, with my mom, with everyone, and looking over and seeing my mom worship, seeing both my friends worshiping Jesus, that just blew my mind, and I just couldn't help but weep during this worship service.
You were that guy.
I was that guy.
Yeah.
But just the redemption there, and like seeing my wife next to my mom just worshiping Jesus wholeheartedly, my mom with her hands raised to the Lord.
Wow.
It's just beautiful.
That is.
And because, like I said, there was just a lot of hurt that has gone on, and it's not anyone's fault. It's just things get messy, and but seeing that redemption is just, it's been unbelievable.
And you're looking to plug in there and serve in some way.
Absolutely.
As well, correct?
Yeah. I'm looking to serve just in whatever way I can. Just like anyone else, I just filled out a serve card and said,
yeah,
plug me in wherever you need help. So
how does that make you feel in a way, kind of having to approach that process as like a guest?
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I like,
because being in the church for as long as you have, and you get used to being the guy,
right?
And so I just wondered if that would be kind of weird for me, but I also at the same time I see how you could be like, it was great, because
I like it. It's like it's like nonchalant and like really easygoing, and I'm just like going through the steps, and I'm not having to be the person organizing the steps.
Yeah, what a relief, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, this just sounds great. Do you have another room?
Yeah, come on over.
Cross show continues in Billings. Guess
what I just learned? Some of our listeners might remember him from Patreon, but Louis Lopez. Not Luis Lopez, not to be confused with Louis Lopez.
We have two friends, the fighter Louis Lopez and our friend Luis.
Yeah. Under like really unfortunate circumstances, Luis, Dylan, and myself are all going to be in Billings this weekend. And we're all going to, Luis and I are probably going to share a bed this weekend, actually. We're both staying at the same place.
I didn't expect you to say that.
Yeah.
The last time you guys shared a bunk bed.
Yeah.
In Seattle.
We won't talk about that. There's some private things that unfolded that our listeners don't need to know about. And that might sound way worse than it actually was.
No, it was bad. It was bad. Man, we've had some
just
fun
imagine
adventures.
3 grown men on a bunk bed.
First of all, just think about how that smells, all right? And then
especially me.
Especially me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun, man. Well, it's good stuff, dude.
Yeah.
But as we kind of move forward as a ministry, we've done a lot of innovation as a ministry, and a lot of people don't know the meetings that you and I have had.
Yeah.
Our other 2 board members, and we kind of meet bi-monthly or so, right in there. As we kind of went through the summer, it got a little bit more sporadic, just as summer's busy and stuff. But we've rebuilt a lot of our leadership mindset, our ministry mindset, and just in the ways that we operate, and trying to articulate more and more what we do as intentional. And who are we trying to reach? What is the purpose of our ministry? How do we do it? And continuing to go that way. And so it's really fun to see the momentum that you have added to our ministry.
Thank you.
The presence that you have added, the wisdom you have added, the dedication that you have shown. And just as a ministry, we just want to say thank you for
Thanks.
your heart, your time, your sacrifice, and all your prayers, your investment into me, into our ministry. It's made all the difference.
Thank you.
And wherever you go, you will thrive. And we have one board member that is so mad at you for leaving.
I know. And the other board member is complete opposite. He's just so excited.
Yeah, he's like, all right, man, we'll see you later. But just know that you will be missed. You will definitely be missed. And like we've said, your friendship and our friendship will continue, of course, and just look a little different as you go over the hill. But at least you're still in Montana, and that is a big positive there. But just want to say to our listeners, and I've already told you this many times, I will continue, just thank you for what you've done for our ministry. And it'll just look a little different as we move forward. And so speaking of that, as we move forward, it's sometimes healthy to look back. And so I wanted to just see if anything comes to mind for you as we, kind of reflect on our episode 1 on Kanye West. And was that 2019? What year was our first? Let me look this up, actually.
It was the year.
It was before COVID, wasn't it?
It was, and it was the year my daughter was
of the dragon. I thought you were going to say something like
it was the year of the dragon.
When was our first episode? That's what I want to say.
It was when my daughter was born, and I know that because when Kanye West's album came out, I can place that more than I can when my daughter was born.
That's the
but
time.
I remember when it came out, we were on a trip to Washington for a friend's wedding.
That's right.
And we brought along my kid.
I drove with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's really when our friendship flourished.
That's true, because we started a podcast together. I remember I was editing the podcast in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
I think. And your wife was in the back with the baby. Is that right?
I remember I was working on the sound
bites and stuff.
Sound bites.
Yeah.
And theme song.
Yeah. Because if our listeners don't know, all we used to have way more sound bites than we do, and we've streamlined it.
It was just so much.
It was just too much to add in, and so unless we had like a board and stuff, we're kind of always just getting by with USB-C cords, and it works, I think. But Dakota has designed and kind of put together the intro songs and all the other things and the outro, and so that was kind of a fun process. And you lived uptown in Butte. I remember we recorded there.
Yep.
And that was fun. It'd be fun to kind of go back and listen to it.
Man,
I'd be kind of embarrassed. I don't know.
We had some great sound bites. There was like whenever we shared a Bible verse, it was like the guy saying the cross, Jesus Christ.
I follow that guy on Instagram. I don't remember.
Oh, he's
his name.
great.
And then you got to look into it.
Look into it.
That was Brendan Schwab and Eddie Bravo on Joe Rogan's pod. Yeah. And they were like talking about the flat earth theory and
look into it.
You got to look into it. And Joe Rogan's like, what are you talking about? So anyway, so we've had, the podcast for over 4 years, I'll say, at least 4 years. And, your involvement became more and more in the leadership process and place of influence, the kind of more we did the podcast, and we kind of took a couple hiatuses from the podcast here and there, and we've been really consistent since last fall.
Yeah.
Like this, we did
this
seasons.
Last year's been
and
really healthy.
Yeah. And we've done a lot of, wow, excuse me. I'm not even drinking coffee and I got the burpees. Anyway, so a lot of time, and we've done countless fight events as chaplains.
Yeah.
We average about 10 to 15 a year. This year's been a little lighter, I think, so far. But it just have been, we're doing the best we can. But
Yeah.
and what's, and showing a little restraint goes a long way to quality as well, making sure that you're not burnt out, I'm not burnt out, things like that. And so all that to say, yeah, lots of fight events, chaplained, a lot of podcasts. We've watched, on average at those fight events, there's at least about 10 to 12 fights. So we've seen a lot of fights, and we threw our own fight event as well. That's in the mix.
Wow.
And I think there's probably other ministry events in there that I'm forgetting. But all that to say, Dakota, does anything kind of stand out as kind of a favorite moment or favorite time in TFL?
I would say my all-time favorite and maybe my highest point of involvement was when we did Cross Punch.
Oh, yeah.
And we did the video series, really. But the thought behind it was, what does jiu-jitsu look like in media, and is it accurate or not?
That's awesome.
And we rated that on a belt scale. And it's just hilarious.
Idea. Yeah.
If you haven't looked into that yet, you need to look into it.
You got to look into it. Yeah, look into it. Yeah, jiu-jitsu in modern media or something.
Yeah.
That was the hardest video I've ever edited.
It took a year.
It took a year, dude, because I put it off. Well, because then there was matching the YouTube video that we're watching with the clip.
Yeah.
And then taking away the fluff and then animating the belts and the sound. But
it's so good.
It's awesome, dude. I actually watched it not that long ago.
Oh, nice.
Because we go through The Simpsons and I think Fast and Furious and Chuck Norris with Walker Texas Ranger and with our buddy Jake, dude. Yeah, that was a great video.
And
that was fun.
I will say, if we ever bring Patreon back, there is an R-rated clip as well. That would be hilarious for certain listeners. But totally not appropriate by any means.
We've always thrown around the name Cross Choke After Dark, or TFL After Dark.
Yeah,
and that would be an exclusive
that
one.
Would be, that'd be perfect for
with some
TFL
great
After Dark.
Yeah, that was a fun video. That just it makes me smile every time I watch it. It's funny.
It's so good.
Yeah, you did a really good job putting that together. A lot of time.
Oh, I spent hours on that, and you spent days on editing it.
And that was in the middle of me. I think I switched computers.
Oh,
yes. And editing software too, And so that's fun, dude. Yeah, that was a great one. I think one of my favorite events or whatever was our own fight event.
Oh yeah.
Putting up
beautiful
Inspire Fight Night here in Butte. We had 6 fights. We flew in a speaker that gave a salvation message. Put a lot of time in on the production value. We got walkie-talkies. We got a venue. We got a cage. We got setup. We got personnel. We got our website set up to sell tickets. And so it was a fight card. Covering
we had
people.
A
sound engineer on site. Full production on it, and I think we, and then took care of fighters, with the gloves, with checks, with refs, with doctors. And so there's a ton that goes into a fight event. And that was just a little guy event,
Right. It was like 5 or 6 fights.
I think it was 5 and the 6th bout was our speaker coming in.
Yeah.
I think that's how we did it. But then that was one of my favorite things because there was so much involvement and posters and, it was so much stuff.
So good.
It was, I see a lot of value in that. And there's been a number of people telling me that our ministry should do it again. Speaking of also the board wanting to do it.
Right.
And I've just been the guy that's like, guys, this is so much time.
Yeah.
Not that it shouldn't be done. Right. Not that it couldn't be done. And it probably will be done again at some point. But I'm like, guys, that is a monster.
Yeah.
An absolute monster. And so if we did it again, we've talked about like, okay, would we bring in a speaker again or not? What's the heart? Why are we doing it? Why are we doing a fight event? Because our whole thing is to help fighters live in grace-filled victory.
Yeah.
So if it matches that vision, then I could see, the reason for doing it. And of course, you can make the argument that we're giving a good environment for fighters to fight in.
Yeah.
A healthy place. We're taking care of them. We're trying to compensate them financially as best we can.
Yep.
And, we do a dry event, so it's no alcohol.
Right.
Which
we brought a bunch of youth groups.
And we made it free.
We had a rapper.
Yep. Oh, and we had a rapper come in and do a song at the beginning. That was cool. And he's a Christian guy. So yeah, I mean, there's so many, and then of course the crowd is getting exposure to the gospel, and so I think we did a really good job of not making anything really cringy at all.
No.
We avoid that in our mantras. Is avoid cringy, and so yeah, the fight event, dude, that was really cool. Inspire Fight Night.
Oh, so good. So many memories.
Yeah. I was so stressed. I actually ended up almost starting the event early.
Right.
Yeah, because I was like, all right, guys, here we go. We ready? Everybody ready? And then our announcer in the middle of the cage was like, you want to start early? And I was like, oh, no. It was like 7 minutes early. We were the only fight event in Montana to start on time.
Yeah, at that point. It's so true.
I bet BKFC started on time. I haven't looked.
We, in hindsight, there were some things we missed.
Yeah.
If someone had been brutally murdered, that would have been really bad.
Yeah. But we had insurance.
We had insurance. We did have insurance.
We had insurance. Yeah.
Which is more than some.
Which is more than a lot.
Can say.
Yeah. And another big thing that I forgot about was who takes the cage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
we were all done. We were cleaning up. Yeah. Everything's ready. And
kind of one of the main guys in the fight world that knows where the cage goes and everything came up to me and goes, who's taking the trailer? And I was like, oh, yeah, not me. Yeah, because it was backed funny. Into like, a doorway at the Copper King.
I think the best fight I've ever seen in my life was at that.
Oh, between
Taddy.
Oh, and what's her face from Anaconda? Angie Hottie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great fight.
It was the bloodiest fight I've ever seen. And it wasn't even bare knuckle.
No, it was just full boxing. Yeah, that was a great fight.
And I've never seen more blood in my life.
Yeah, that's true. That was a bloody one. One of the bloodier ones was in Butte at a bare knuckle between Jared's brother.
Another Anaconda guy.
Not Timmy Mason. I keep wanting to say Timmy Mason.
Is it not Jared
Lunsford, his brother. I can't think of his first name all of a sudden. But anyways, between Lunsford and then a guy out of Butte. It's actually in our video intro.
Yeah.
That was a bloody one. And there was another really bloody one at death row or whatever at the depot. Where that guy's tooth went flying and stuff.
Yes.
That was a really bloody
one. The depot was packed.
Yeah,
there was standing room only.
Yeah, that was wild.
You paid a ticket to just stand next to the cage.
That was, dude, and I feel like that was kind of early to our exposure to that type of a fight.
Yeah.
And we were all kind of like taken back because it was just bloody mess, man. Bare knuckle's nasty. Yeah. Bare knuckle is nasty.
Yeah.
So
it's intense.
That was a good fight. One of the other ones that I was just thinking of as far as good fights go was in, where were we? Was it Missoula or Bozeman? I think it was Missoula. It was Gage Saunders and the guy from Missoula. Dang it, I can't remember. We do really well with faces and stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyways,
and concepts of biblical truths we do really well.
Yes, with. Concepts of ideas.
When it comes when it comes to quoting the scripture.
Yeah. We could usually quote pretty good.
Usually, yeah, it's true. But the reference, getting
Lloyd.
The book.
Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
Yes.
We gotta go back.
Lloyd Max or something? Lloyd Mix.
Lloyd Mix.
This guy.
Lloyd Mix Engage. Oh yeah, with
the chops.
The thing.
Yeah, the thing.
Who's on the ground?
I've seen him before too. I'm showing him a picture for those that can't see what I'm seeing right now. This guy, I was there when he knocked this guy out. That was in Billings.
Wow.
Yeah. I wonder how many knockouts we've witnessed in person. Did you ever think that would be your story? Like you would actually be able to say you've seen like
No. And I've seen
dozens
a lot.
and dozens of individuals
And
get knocked out.
injuries and blood and teeth.
You've met some pretty famous people.
I've met some
You've met
really
some
famous people. Okay, so I met Gina Carano, which was right after she left Disney Plus Mandalorian. Right after she left that, I got to meet her, and she was filming a movie with Cowboy Cerrone, so I got to see him. He looked completely different than like he looked on TV.
Sure.
So that was really cool. I got to meet Flava Flav because he represents a lot of sporters.
Sporters, man.
A lot of sporters. A lot of athletes.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, recently he represented in the Olympics the women's polo team, water polo.
Really?
And like sponsored them because he found out they were all working full-time jobs and training to be in the Olympics as this team.
Is that not every athlete?
But like, it's all these mothers like training, taking care of the kids, water polo. And he just like had a
soft heart for the water polo ladies.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
but so he sponsors athletes, and one of his guys was Muhammad Ali's grandson.
Or was it nephew?
Or nephew.
I want to say nephew.
Yeah, some relative.
Sure.
Who's got the Ali blood. And so yeah, we got to meet Ali, not Muhammad Ali, but we got to meet
his nephew or whatever.
And you guys got to pray over him.
Yeah. He got hurt pretty bad in that fight.
I think that's the extent.
You met Sean O'Malley.
I got to meet Sugar Sean.
Yep, and he's fighting, I believe, this weekend
on UFC 306 or something.
Yeah, at
like
in the Sphere
in Vegas.
Yeah, so by the time this goes live, that'll already be done.
Yeah,
he should have no problem.
Sean.
I think he'll be good there. And then some other
some big fighter names.
Some big fighter names and
Tommy Gunn. I would say he's gonna be pretty big. Amari Sangzava.
Oh yeah,
he's gonna be pretty big.
Yeah.
Marnik Mann was in UFC.
She still is. Yeah, she still has a couple fights on her contract. Yeah.
Yeah.
But man, and just some great people. Some great
amazing people
throughout the fight world, and it's just awesome. And it just like you're saying is on a prompt, on a whim, on a like, all right, let's just go for it. Let's hop into this fight world that I don't really know much about.
Right.
And
when in Rome, when in Butte.
Maybe that's why. But
join the fight game, man.
But think of the blessing it's been for you taking a step of faith. And just in that way, just in like the connections and people and fun things, and also the lessons that we've learned and the problem solvings that we've had, and the moments of joy when the reputation we've built as a ministry, and so like walking in and like people excited to see you and coming to you like, hey, can you pray with me? And just the conversations we've had with fighters and the stories we've heard, and
it's been incredible.
Being able the blessing of being the church in people's lives is such a joy to be a part of.
Yeah.
Regardless if you see like much of tangible outcome, but just being that presence, you're like, okay, I know I'm doing what God would want me to do in this moment.
Absolutely.
And that's a blessing, and it takes faith. It takes a step to do, and so that's really cool that you've been able to kind of experience that.
Yeah.
And be fun. And it's been really fun to see you experience that from my perspective, from you not being born in that world,
Right.
It's really cool. It's really cool.
I found I'm a really good finder of things. If Zach said, we randomly need a 5-gallon bucket of whatever, I just have the ability to walk into a back room,
Dude,
snap
it's
my
so
fingers,
true.
and things just happen.
Oh my goodness, that is so true.
We need to find a brick.
Yeah.
A brick that perfectly fits under the stairs.
Dude, that is like the greatest example because this step coming out of the ring was broken. So these fighters that are coming out barely able to walk had to skip the last step coming out of the ring.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, dude, I don't know what, you got to find something. Go look, and you come back in very short amount of time.
Not even a minute.
With a cinder block. Somewhere you found this in this arena, a cinder block. You're like, will this work?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it couldn't have worked better.
And I've just had that capability. I mean, the last fights in Butte, they needed tables around the ring. And some guy comes up to me, and that's another thing is we've always prided
ourselves, yeah.
Is that yeah. Prided ourselves in the fact that if we don't know the answer, we're going to find the answer.
Yeah.
And so when someone comes up to us, because we're wearing the yellow shirt, the logo, people know to come to us with questions.
Yeah, right.
We don't just tell them, I don't know. We act like we've done it 1,000 times.
Right.
And so this guy comes up to me, we really need some tables. Oh, perfect. Let's go get some tables.
Yes, right.
And we just go in the back, and he's like, well, do you know where the tables are? And we go around this corner. There's the tables.
You're like, right here, brother.
And he goes, well, can I take them? I was like, well, I'm not going to stop you from taking them.
Yeah.
And he's like, I like this guy.
And that's what we want to be, though. We want to be that person in people's lives.
Make things easier. I would say another thing, you're talking about reputation. I got to lead the fighter prayer.
Oh, right.
Multiple times now.
Yeah.
On Fight TV even.
Right.
I mean, I'm being live streamed to thousands of people that get to hear the gospel come through a prayer.
Before a fight event,
Yeah, and that's just incredible.
Yeah, that's cool. That's scary too.
Yeah.
Going up there, you have the mic, you're like, oh, I don't want to sound like a dope, you know?
And one time, the first time I did the fighter prayer, I got some feedback on it because I prayed, and we just pray for no injuries tonight. And afterwards, someone was like, well, we don't want any life-altering, sustainable injuries.
Yeah,
but maybe we want some injuries.
Yeah. But that's how you get better. You know?
Exactly.
And suck at it till you don't.
Yeah.
And that's been our heartbeat, man. Suck at it till you don't.
That's right.
So good. Well, brother, that's it's been real. It's been fun.
It's been real fun.
It's been real fun. I always like to say it hasn't been real fun.
And as a wise man always says, everybody had a good time. What is it? A good time
was had by all. A good time was had by all.
Oh man! And you'll still see me around in Billings, especially any fusion fight in the future when I'm not moving a house.
That's fair. Golf in Bozeman.
Yeah. Meet up, get some golf in before a Bozeman fight event.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, that sounds good. But well, right on, brother. As far as the future of Cross Choke goes, the show must go on.
Yes, it will.
And it might look a little different. There's I have some ideas, some concepts of an idea put together to whether it's a form of like a monologue on my part, or some guests. We've always wanted to have some interviews with fighters, things like that. And so it will definitely continue. As far as the monthly basis goes right now, that is a little bit up in the air. I might pick it back up. I might skip a month because at the time of this recording, my wife is getting induced on Monday. So we will be having our first baby on Monday. We're having him about 3 weeks early just to do for some hypertension things and high blood pressure that my wife has had ever since she was pregnant, which can really cause some complications as we go into the last couple weeks of the pregnancy. So they want to get him out of there a little soon. And everything looks good, though. He's growing well. All that's fine. He's practicing breathing, all those things. So it should be everything's lining up well. And so regardless of all those things in the process and labor and all those things, I might not be as consistent here with a little bit of cross choke, at least going into October. So around the holidays should be good to go. Who knows how this thing goes, but just giving our listeners a little bit of a heads up there. So Fight Church 7 is still planned on for sure a go, but cross choke might be just a minute before we get back in the swing of things and kind of figure out what we want to do, and time investment and those kinds of things. Or who knows, life might just go on just fine and easy and simple. So either way, listeners, just be aware of that. But
tell me this, Zach. At the time this episode airs,
yes,
you will have a kid.
Yes.
So is it going to be a secret still, or are you going to let the listeners know the name
of your kid? I would like to introduce everyone, hopefully, to Easton Jeffrey Anderson.
Wow.
No.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of a good name. I think we like it. My wife and I really had so many more girl names in mind.
Yeah.
And then when we found out it was a boy, we were like, we have no names in mind.
That's funny.
No
we
names.
had the complete opposite problem. Too many girl names.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And we were just like, it could be this or this or this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we just knew it was going to be a girl.
That's funny. Dude, I could have said the same to you. We just knew it was going to be a girl, and it was a boy. Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, but yeah, so dude, it's been a wild week because we found this out on Tuesday, that they're like, okay, we're going to induce you at 37 weeks. And we're like, 37 weeks? That's
36 right now.
Yeah. It's 36 now. So what does that make it? Dude, Monday. So,
Jeez.
And we could have done whatever week or what day of the week. And so we were like, okay, Monday it is.
Yeah.
And so it's been a very busy 6 days or 5 days.
Yeah.
You know, because not that we weren't really ready, but we had 2 baby showers, 3, almost 4 baby showers.
Wow.
Because we had one here in town. Katie just had one in her hometown, Plains. We had one mailed to us from the Whitefish Church, the Ladies of Whitefish.
No way.
Whitefish Assembly. They mailed us this big box. It was baby shower in a box.
Oh my God.
And it had everything you think of for like clothes, handmade blankets, and dude, it was so
incredible.
It was really nice. It was so nice.
That is so sweet.
And then her workplace also threw her a surprise baby shower. All of it's an absolute blessing, but boy, is it overwhelming.
Yeah, all of this stuff.
And we have our apartment, just the 2 of us. Now we have boxes and things to build and things to buy. And so all that was happening. And then all of a sudden it's like, we're going to induce you in 7 days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so been hard at work trying to, just get a room put together, a little nursery, and just, and I know you probably need less than you think,
Yeah.
You don't need all the bells and whistles and stuff. And so I'm trying to just stay practical, but I'm like, I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing.
That'd be great.
But we have tons of diapers, and I'm sure we'll probably need tons more and things like, but I feel like we're pretty set. We got the car seat, things like that. We'll get them home. We got clothes, so keep us in your prayers as we transition into this new season of our lives. We're really excited.
It's good.
Really excited, but boy, is it like nerve wracking all of a sudden, like, we're having a baby.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice at the same point to know, like, okay, next week, rather than like constantly wondering.
Like, what day
yeah. So
that is cool.
Yeah, that is cool in a way. But my wife was a little sad about it because I think she wanted to experience like I think I'm having the baby. We need to get going. It's like, no, we just check in.
Who knows? You have a couple days that might still happen.
I was kind of hoping that in a way. Like, what if like Monday just the ball starts rolling,
Yeah.
Anyways, naturally. And so, but we'll see.
I would say it is rare that the birth of your child happens the way you want it to, at least in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because with my first kid, my wife was in labor for like a whole week.
Oy.
Because we went in and she was having the contractions. A doctor was saying those are just Braxton Hicks.
Sure.
They weren't Braxton Hicks.
Oh, wow.
They were actual contractions.
Really?
But her water wouldn't break. So they had to go in and break her water.
Ugh.
And then it was go time for the baby.
Okay.
And then with my second kid, that was during COVID.
Oh,
and so
right.
that was really weird our kid came prematurely by a couple weeks. I had COVID. My wife had COVID during the birth. I wasn't able to see my kid for a couple weeks.
Sure.
So that was all weird. So at least in my experiences, it never happens how you envision it.
No.
I also have another thought.
Yeah.
There's so many stinking things for the baby to just sleep in, that always frustrated.
What is that about?
There's the crib.
Yeah.
There's the pen.
Yeah.
There's the bassinet.
Yeah.
There's the swing.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Yeah. And then all of those things take up so much real estate.
Yes.
And okay, I get the crib and I get the bassinet.
Yeah.
Okay. The swing thing, okay, I can get that too.
Yeah.
But do we really need the floor pen, the portable one?
Yep.
The swing thing that goes in the door frame, and then there's so many things, and it's like I maybe I'll be so glad because you just get to entertain the kid in different ways and
True,
stuff.
and just like let them be.
Yeah,
for a few minutes.
but it's like let the kid be bored and scream. I don't know. That's where my mind is right now. Like we don't got room for this, man.
That's where I'm at with my toddlers.
Yeah.
I'm like, can they just be bored for a minute?
Yeah. I saw a video that was actually really insightful. It was like you're not in charge of keeping your kids entertained.
Absolutely.
So let them be bored and figure it out.
Absolutely.
Let them go outside and have a rock and a stick and
Yeah.
some dirt and, I don't know.
Yeah, but there's danger to that too. But you just gotta embrace it.
Right.
Because that's how we approach parenting a lot is we're definitely not helicopter parents. We're in fact pretty much the opposite of that.
Right.
But then all of a sudden you're like, why is there a cat in our house? Like,
Yeah. And there's a healthy side of danger for your kid.
absolutely.
Like if they're like in bad danger, but if you tell them, and I saw another thing on this, it was like if you just voice like, hey, be careful,
yeah.
and they're climbing on something that they're probably gonna fall off of,
Yeah.
let them, give them a chance.
It's a broken arm.
Honestly. But like still, really though, like in a lot of ways, it's like, okay, I can't like, oh, get off there. Oh, get off here. Oh, do this. Oh, sit there.
Yeah,
stay in your
what's that
thing,
gonna do?
And I can understand how a parent could be that way too, because you just want like, oh, I want my little baby to be safe, and it's like, man, they gotta be able to cope a little and have some danger. What's life without a little risk, huh?
Yeah. I've been parenting now for 5 years, and I've just noticed other people view my parenting style as more lackadaisical, but there's just a lot of bonuses to that, to where
bonuses.
There's the memories and experiences, but also the fact where other people are freaking out and they're like, your kid is climbing that thing. Are they going to be okay? I'm like, I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah. Let's watch them. Yeah.
It's fun
Yeah.
and it's rewarding because then they come down off that thing like, did you see me?
Did you see what I did? Yeah.
It's like, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyways, there's our parenting tips.
Well, I feel like God treats us that way.
Ooh,
wouldn't you think?
preach it.
He's not. He doesn't want you to be just in a box.
Yeah.
And like protective, and comes back to the talents.
Yeah.
You bury it, and you're like, look, God, look what I did. I kept everything safe.
Yeah.
And he's mad. He's like, no, you wasted it.
Yep.
Rather than like go out, take a risk. Go.
Yeah.
Go mess up. That's the whole heart behind suck at it till you don't.
Right.
Go for it.
Yep. I think that ties in well back to our whole conversation about the move to Billings too.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Send it.
yeah. The light's green.
The light's green.
You don't need to act like the light's red right now. So
yeah. I think the church could do well with a little green light.
Ooh.
But that's another discussion.
Yeah.
Well, as the church goes, you are the church.
Yeah, and so are you.
And so is our listeners. Represent well, send it, go for it, love people, work at telling others the gospel, and suck at it till you don't.
Yeah, and act like you've done it 1,000 times, and let people. No, I'm just kidding. Embrace grace-filled victory.
Yeah.
On and off the mats, because we're in your corner.
That's right. Dakota, as we wrap up, anything else you'd like to share with the listeners as we close the chapter on this in this part of the book?
Yeah, I'll just say a huge thank you to your leadership. You've been incredible. The discipleship you have given me through the many books we've read, times where I've failed and you've just handled it gracefully. The golf lessons you've given me, the friendship that we have, all the times at Mr. Dogs. You just lead well, and I really appreciate that. And you've created an environment for people to serve well. People like myself, other guys on our leadership team, our serve teams that just would never be in the fight world, and it just creates an opportunity for them to be a missionary in an environment that really needs to hear the gospel.
Yeah.
So just thank you for that. Thank you for our
Of
awesome
course.
community. Across the board, fighters are just so welcoming and usually just generous and kind. It's rare that they're not. I think just in closing, we just have one last fight song, walkout song of the month.
It doesn't sound good.
Yeah,
it's the walkout song
of
of
the
the week.
week. Come on. Thank you so much for listening to Crosschoke. It was a blast creating this episode, and we hope you enjoyed listening. Submit any fun questions, inquisitive comments, serious requests, or hilarious stories to tflministries.com/podcast. Feel free to follow Zach at Ando Butte and myself at South for a Day. Have an amazing day and join us next time on Crosschoke.